guys, welcome back to Away We Go. I'm so excited to be back today, guys, because we're doing a book review, and it is a book that I was unsure about when I originally read it, and now I'm obsessed, and I'm really sad that I borrowed it from my friend. Shout out Katie, thank you so much. But I'm gonna have to go buy a copy now, so I'm gonna just hold on to yours until I go replace mine. So yes, today, which hopefully you know by the title, but just in case you don't, today we're talking about Sarah J. Maas's Crescent City. Okay, I am so excited to talk about this book. It put me through my feelings, and yeah, okay, let's do this. I'm gonna just like keep petting this book while I do my book review because this book makes me so happy. I really want the next book. Anyways, so we're gonna start with our synopsis, which means I gotta read, which also is how I'm gonna base my conversation about the book. So if certain things are already hinted at, then I will be able to talk about them. So if you don't want any spoilers at all, probably best to be safe to just like not watch it. Sorry. Or skip past the plot stuff. So we're gonna read the synopsis. Bound by blood, tempted by desire, unleashed by destiny. Bryce Quinlan had the perfect life, working hard all day and partying all night, until a demon murdered her closest friends, leaving her bereft, wounded, and alone. When the accused is behind bars but the crimes start up again, Bryce finds herself at the heart of the investigation. She'll do whatever it takes to avenge their deaths. Hunt Athalar is a notorious fallen angel, now enslaved to the archangels he once attempted to overthrow. His brutal skills and incredible strength have been set to one purpose: to assassinate his boss's enemies. No questions asked. But with a demon wreaking havoc in the city, he's offered an irresistible deal. Help Bryce find the murderer, and his freedom will be within reach. As Bryce and Hunt dig deep into Crescent City's underbelly, they discover a dark power that threatens everything and everyone they hold dear. And they find, in each other, a blazing passion, one that could set them both free, if they'd only let it. With unforgettable characters, sizzling romance, and page-turning suspense, this richly inventive new fantasy series by the #1 New York Times best-selling author Sarah J. Maas delves into the heartache of loss, the price of freedom, and the power of love. And y'all, like, this cover is gorgeous. Even like just the simplicity, like, so pretty, but then like, oh man, like gorgeous. This whole book, I don't think there's anything on the back, but I'm gonna double check. It's just a repeat at the back. It's just gorgeous. Everything is so gorgeous in this book. And the map is so intricate. Like, I could do a whole video just on, yeah, no, so great, so great. I love this. And from what I understand, you know, this is just the one city that we're looking at. So I'm excited to see, especially when this was Earth and Blood and she puts in the others. And I feel like we're going to get a chance to see a deeper glimpse into them. But I really hope that doesn't mean that we lose Bryce. Let's talk about plot. So immediately from the synopsis, it pulls you in. You want to know more, or I did. And it's kind of set in a familiar landscape because it's still the magical beings. There are some extras like fallen angels and archangels that have been added into this series. There's still the Fae. It's almost like her Court of Thorns and Roses is like set back, and then around the same-ish time is the Throne of Glass series, and then it's like she jumps. I'm sure they're meant to be different worlds, but it feels like this could be the same type of world, just later, like a more modern take on it. But also there's like werewolves and all these good things, which we don't really see a lot of in any of the other series. So she's probably trying to separate them by being their own worlds. That being said, it's still amazing. It doesn't matter. she didn't spend too much time giving us a super in-depth look at like the world around us, and I think part of that is going to be because as she goes into this series, I think we will get deeper and deeper looks into the world around us. It's very similar to Court of Thorns and Roses or even Throne of Glass. Like when you're in one specific location, she doesn't really give you this huge outward appearance, which is fine by me because I would rather give it a little bit at a time than like have a whole book where like, you know, this many pages is world building. Like that's 200 pages. I don't need that. I just need build as you go. And so I love that. Anyone who's read Sarah J. Maas knows that she can build amazing characters. You know that she can build these characters that you take them into your heart and you love them, and then she breaks your heart. And of course, new series, there's got to be some sort of heartbreak. So that is exactly what happens. Bryce, we get a glimpse into her life, specifically with these two people, Danica and Connor, and they are wonderful. And you can tell that like immediately, like even before he starts talking about it, like you can tell Connor's in love with Bryce. And you can tell Bryce is like, clearly she thinks they're meant to be, but then like she won't be with him. Anyways, and they're like these party girls, they're out of college. Danica's a werewolf. Bryce is half fae, half human. And in this world, she's kind of looked down on, which is interesting. I think it's true. I think the fae could be entitled enough, or at least some of them could be entitled enough where they would be like, ugh, gross. But it's like, I mean, if you slept with her mom and she was born, then you did that willingly. So, whatever. It's fine. It's not a big deal. That's just a me thing. So, yeah. So I fell in love. I loved Bryce. I loved Danica. I loved Connor. She broke my heart. Like, you guys, it still hurts, okay? It still hurts. And I understand that it was a whole plot device and it was a very engaging hook, and I didn't put it down, but I will not lie. I got through that part. I got through that little beginning chunk, and then I closed my book for like a week. I was angry. It wasn't a week. It was less than 12 hours, but that's not the point. In book world, it was like a week. Katie got the text message. I was straight up like, what just happened? She was like, keep reading. I was like, no, like I'm angry. So I almost gave up on it right then and there. I was so mad, but at least it wasn't because the writing was bad. It was because I was emotionally invested already, and now my heart was sad. So as you know from the synopsis, her friends get killed. So Danica and Connor are no more, which sucks, y'all. It sucks. It was interesting then to see how that fit into the plot. So obviously that was the whole kind of like opening segment. It was the setup for the whole story. It was our exposition, was all of this jam-packed into something. You meet all these characters that are going to become important throughout the book. And even the ones that aren't around anymore, who have been mercilessly killed off, even they are still so important for this story. So it's kind of interesting to see how that got set up, but also heartbreaking. And then we do a time jump to part 2, which is only 90 pages in. Then we jump 22 months, so almost 2 years later. We get pulled into Bryce's new world. Kind of like have to see how she's been coping, how she's been dealing with things, how she's been handling everything. And that starts our rising action. So it's turning up like the pressure, and it keeps building and building and building. And for the majority of it, it's like, yeah, you're in it. There were a couple parts where it's like I would put it down and I could go a few days without reading it, or I think I read like a whole nother book in the middle of me reading this one. So it had its moments, but you know, every book has something. And so you do what you do. We hit like that big climactic moment, right? Where everything hits the fan. I don't want to give too much away. So big things get figured out, and when it turns, it's like, and so all of a sudden, like, I was just like, done, finish the book. And I was so upset when I realized that I was gonna finish it that night. And I finished it. I ended up finishing it at like 2 a.m. Once that explosion happened, that was that. That was end all be all. I was done. I was down for the count. I had to finish it. I really need another book. The way that this one ended, so there's two takeaways from how this one ended. First off, the epilogue perfectly set it up for the next book. But the second thing is that she like tied it up with a bow. And that terrifies me. Because either that means she's done with these characters, which I don't think she can be, or she's gonna hurt us again. So I am anxious to see what happens. I really don't want to get hurt anymore. Not with characters in this book. If you want to bring in outside people and kill them off, then by all means, you do that, but not with the two people that I'm obsessed with right now. Stop killing people that I love. So, from plot, we're going to jump into character development. Look, if you've read any Sarah J. Maas, then you know that there are no weak characters. There are characters that you don't like. There are characters that are annoying. There are characters that take warming up to. There are characters that you adore right away. But there are no bad characters. That's not the right word. There are no dull characters. That's the word. There's no dull characters. There's just characters. She builds in a lot into Bryce's story. With her background, she builds in a lot with her friends. Like, you get 5 chapters with Danica and Connor. And you're obsessed. And you know the heartbreak that she feels. And you can feel just how much she loved them. And like that kind of character development, and you can feel how much they loved her. Seeing all of that love, seeing all that character build up, you can't help but dig into this story. And then you have all of this backstory and all of these people, like half brothers and parents and everything else that's building together. And then the angels, who are an entirely new being, or maybe not new beings, but like an entirely new subset, haven't dealt with angels before, so then they were intriguing, and so then I wanted to know more about them, and it was just like, oh my god. There was so much buildup. Nobody was boring. I wanted to know more about everybody, even the villains. I wanted to know everything about everybody. I liked that there were twists and turns within characters. There's this twist with Hunt that just breaks you. Guys, if you have not read this book, please read it. Please. So obviously, this one was an adult book, which was kind of why I was afraid to read it. I was afraid it wouldn't, I don't know what I was exactly afraid of. I was just afraid I wouldn't like it because it was adult. It's great. It's wonderful. It's fantasy. I don't know why I doubted her in the slightest, because I am silly person. Yes, for sure. Adult fantasy. So good. Go read it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 because it was spectacular. And I really just wanted more. I want so much more. So hopefully I will get that soon. And then age range. This is definitely a high school plus book. So like if I knew a kid was reading this in high school, I would assume they like these kind of books. I really do think it's just kind of geared towards more young, I guess, mid-adults. I don't know what the range would be for like college and beyond. But when I think young adults, I think like middle school, high school. So this is not young adult in my book, but to each their own, I guess. I probably would have read it when I was younger if I had found it. I've also been reading way above my technical level and read things that I probably shouldn't have read at a very young age. So, there's that. And you know what? It's not so explicit that you can't handle it, okay? It's just, you don't need to know. You can read it in a couple years. Classroom application. So this is something, because I'm a teacher, I always like to look at the way I could take books. This is one that honestly I wouldn't. It would be a recommendation if a kid reads adult fantasy all the time. I would probably recommend it. I would make sure they knew, like, hey, there are some adult themes. But, I mean, realistically, the majority of this is violence, and it's fantasy, and it's magic. It's not a lot of sex. So, there's that. So, I wouldn't bring this into my classroom. I just wouldn't. I also think that's okay. It's good to read books that you wouldn't take into your room. So, that's that, guys. 5 out of 5. I really hope you enjoy this book. I also will warn you that there is another Sarah J. Maas book review coming out. It will probably be the next one to go up, and then probably a third one, but there'll probably be one in between of a different person. So that's all I've got for you guys this time. If you like this video, go ahead and like it for me. It really helps out my channel. And if you feel so inclined, subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. On away we go. Bye, guys.